What's up, everybody? This is Jules Jessie with Converge Media, your co-host for Clapback Culture, alongside my co-host, Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
Hey, what's up, Julia? Nice to have you back.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Glad to be home. Amen.
Yes.
And who's in here with us? I see people creeping on in. What's up, Leon? What's up, Emily? Good to see you guys. And I know our viewing and listening audience is here. Man, we have a good show for you, as always, on our Thursday night. So we might as well just dive deep in. Cuddy, we know you behind the scenes. What is Joe Biden predicting? Well, he is predicting that restaurants and businesses will be in a bind for some time due to labor shortages. Mike, I couldn't agree more with this. There was a town hall this week, and when asked by a restaurateur about how the federal government will incentivize returns to work among industries with labor shortages, Biden said, "I think it is really a matter of people deciding now that they have opportunities to do other things. And there is a shortage of employees. People are looking to make more money and to bargain. And so I think your business and the tourist business is really going to be in a bind for a little while." Mike, I mean, we've discussed this a few times on this show, throughout the pandemic, and people kind of gradually getting back to work. I couldn't agree more with Joe Biden here. I'm not going to say it's a good thing, but it's definitely real. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think his answer definitely addresses what's actually happening. It doesn't get at any solutions, but I think he's absolutely right. I think the industries where we're seeing a shortage on workers, they're going to continue to see a shortage of workers. And I think the reason for that is because of how low the wages are. I mean, as long as people going back to those industries know they're not going to be earning a living wage, none of those people are going to be in a hurry to get back to the service industry and the tourism industry in particular. So he's right. Those industries are going to suffer. But I think the fastest way for them to get their employees back is to offer higher wages and better benefit packages. I mean, that's what people want. That's what people need. And until we get there, I think this labor shortage is going to continue.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that higher wages are definitely going to draw more people in. However, can you put that overlay up really quick? There's one thing that President Biden mentioned, and I think that's something that we can think about. He said, I think it is really a matter of people deciding now that they have opportunities to do other things. Let's talk about that for a second. during the pandemic, a lot of people reimagined what they could do career wise, right? They understood that they no longer needed to be in this brick and mortar facility, but that they could operate remotely from home. It was a chance where everybody had a time to shut down and really think about what they wanted for their life, for their career, for their family, for themselves. And I think it allowed people to really, dream again, and think about what's truly important to them. And so someone who may have been stifled in a position of in hospitality and tourism may have said, you know what, this is the opportunity I'm going to use now to build that business, to build my website, to put together the plan and strategy that I need to take me to the next level and do something that I truly want to do. Because oftentimes we don't see people, being waiters or waitresses or clerks or, any of those things for too long. It's really just a stepping stone to get to the next level. So I agree with you, Mike. We definitely need to allow people in those positions to make a livable wage. But I think the spirit of entrepreneurship definitely showed its face during the pandemic.
I think you're absolutely right. I would even take that one step further. I mean, the education component. I mean, there's so many people, like you said, those are really stopgap jobs. I think when we had on the restaurant owner who was trying to offer college as an incentive to get people back, I think he pretty much said just what you said. Like, this was already a revolving door industry anyway. So with the reset of the pandemic, people have an opportunity to either explore other employment opportunities, get more education, start that business that they wanted to start. I mean, there's just so many opportunities out here. And I think when you look at all of those opportunities available, you look at the fact that a lot of people made more on unemployment than they did at those jobs. And you look at the fact that this virus isn't going anywhere. Now we got the Delta variant. So things still aren't really getting better, and it's not any safer to work in that industry. This shortage is just going to continue because there are so many factors working against people returning to those particular jobs.
Man, and I think Emily Stock brings up a good point. They mentioned there's also an underestimation of trauma. Really tough for some people emotionally to get back into work, or maybe having to look for a new job for the first time in years. Let us not forget that, being in food service or being in hospitality, I mean, you are really face to face with people. And so you're right. I definitely did underestimate the fact that some people just may not be comfortable going back to work due to COVID.
Yeah, I think it's everything.
Speaking of COVID, our girl, Marjorie Taylor Greene, was banned from Twitter for 12 hours, suspended from Twitter. Cuddy, I think we have an overlay for that. She was suspended from Twitter, you guys, yet again for vaccine misinformation. We know her to be a rebel without a cause, as I would love to say it. Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted the controversial hashtag COVID-19 vaccine should not be forced on our military for a virus that is not dangerous for non-obese people and those under 65. With 6,000 vax-related deaths and many concerning side effects reported, the vax should be a choice, not a mandate for everyone.
It's so hard not to laugh at her. Like, it's not even funny. It's not funny. But goddamn, it's hilarious. She's so unbelievable. Like, how did she just keep doing this and doing this? And whenever I read about her at the end of the article, it always comes back to the fact that she raises so much campaign dollars. Like, the people who like her really, really love her. I don't understand.
I may eat my words in the next probably day or two because Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't give us enough room for error. But I have to agree with her in that and we've said it, we have a shared opinion with her for the first time. I don't believe that the vaccine should be a mandate. I don't believe anyone should be required to take the vaccine should they not feel comfortable. However, her tweet that had the piece of misinformation is the fact that she says that the virus is not dangerous for non-obese people and those under 65. Okay, that's not true. We know that not to be true. She came on and did a press conference a day or two ago, and she talked about the mandate and how she's just saying, I don't believe that people should be required by government to take the vaccine. And of course, she has so many reasons as to why she feels and believes the things that she believes. And I don't share those same beliefs, but I do share the fact that we are on a slippery slope should we continue to allow government to dictate what we do with our health. So that is something we talked about. I do agree with that very small point with MTG this time.
Yeah, I mean, I've made that point as well. I think what really gets to me with her too isn't even what she says so much as how she says it. It's just like the blatant ignorance. Like she's so loud wrong sometimes. I
Yeah.
see a clip, and I think it's the same clip that you're talking about, where they then like asked her, like, well, what about the children? And then she like laughs off the question. And there was literally a kid in her district that had just died of COVID. So it's like her disconnect from reality is just so extreme. She's so much, but she's content. She's a content machine.
She's a content queen. And you're right. She is very loud and wrong oftentimes, but that small middle school piece of information, I don't believe we should require the vaccine. Or, but she also was the same person who said there shouldn't be a mask mandate and I disagreed, and I felt there should be a mask mandate. So I don't know. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you'll be back in the news for something. She is constantly raising millions of campaign dollars. I don't think she's going anywhere anytime soon. The Trump era continues. Jeff Bezos, now the second person to take a commercial flight to space. And alongside of him, 3 additional passengers, being his brother, Mark, who's his 6-year junior, and Wally Funk, an 82-year-old former test pilot, and the oldest person to go to space, and also the youngest person to go to space was an 18-year-old Dutch teenager. Let's pull up that overlay, please. This bidder okay, so there's a little bit of a story to this. You guys know there was 1 seat available for auction, and there was a bidder that paid $28 million for a seat and did not go because of scheduling conflicts. So then, boom, this teenager, Oliver Damon, an 18-year-old, the youngest astronaut. He's a space enthusiast who is studying physics at university this fall. His dad flipped the bill for the ticket, the $28 million, and let his son go to space. Man, that's one hell of college tuition.
Man, it must be nice. Must be nice to have Pops write that $28 million check for a couple minutes in the air.
Yeah, 11-minute flight on the Blue Origin, you guys. And at least what I can say for Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, he did better than Sir Richard Branson. Because when Jeff Bezos came down, he decided to dive deep into his philanthropic work. So we will talk about that shortly after the break. But man, shout out to Jeff Bezos in like opening kind of this idea on like space tourism. He talked about it in the press conference, because at first I was raising my eyebrow like, wow, rich people just don't have enough to do. But in fact, he is using this as a catalyst to encourage people to go into science and technology, and really talk about space travel and things like that. And I don't know. I mean, you become the richest man in the world. You buy your own rocket. You take an 11-minute flight into space. And then you come down and you see the world, the Earth, as a new place, and you do better.
Maybe. I mean, he's trying, I guess. And we're going to get into that topic a little bit later, but I feel like so many people are mad that these billionaires is going to space. And I mean, I just love space. I love space. I like the idea of space tourism. It would be dope if it ever became accessible. 28 million for 11 minutes. It ain't quite accessible yet, but we'll see where they take it.
There was over 700 people that went into this public auction. It was 4.3 million as the starting bid, and it was over 700 people in the auction from 159 countries. So this is not an American thing, y'all. This is like a real worldly concept, global concept. People are interested in space tourism, and I really think that this is going to turn into a thing.
I think it is too, and I am happy that they are using their money instead of government money.
Yeah.
So if this is what they want to do it. Just don't take our tax dollars and do no funny business.
Well, shoot, I feel like Jeff Bezos is using our money as much as my Amazon bill is. Shoot.
Man,
let's hope he keeps that same energy and allows his workers to be unionized. Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't gonna let him slide. I won't gonna let him slide with that. But look, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about what Jeff Bezos did when he landed in that rocket. Hang tight.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
Hey y'all, this is Julia Jessie of Converge Media.
And I'm Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
And together we host Clapback Culture every Thursday night at 7 p.m. right here on Converge Media.
And as y'all know, we've done a lot of coverage of the vaccine on our show. And we've both shared our experiences about getting vaxxed.
We are here to let you know that in the state of Washington, everyone over 12 years old is eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine.
Keep in mind that there is no cost for the COVID-19 vaccine. This also means that you don't need to have medical insurance, so don't let that stop you.
You can get more information and resources by visiting kingcounty.gov/COVID.
If you're more comfortable speaking to a live person, you can call 206-477-3977.
The hotline is especially good for those in our community who may need translation services.
Or to set up an in-home vaccination appointment for themselves or someone they know that might not be comfortable at a vaccination site due to a disability, anxiety, or other reasons, or just to be connected to other resources.
Here in King County, the COVID vaccine is accessible and available. The summer is here, and we know you want to be outside. So let's celebrate the summer safely by getting vaxxed. Welcome back, everyone, to Clapback Culture. I see our viewing audience has trolled in. Some of y'all are late. I'm calling y'all to the carpet. I just want to let y'all know. But yeah, I'm loving these comments, y'all. A few people, Natasha up at the top, Natasha says that she's not sure if she's interested in doing that space travel. Sis, I'm with you. There's a lot. And Tracy says that it needs to be longer than 11 minutes. I don't know if 28 million is worth 11 million. I mean, I don't think 11 minutes, 28 million.
Man, look, give me the opportunity. I'm going to space. And I'm taking Cuddy with me. Me and Cuddy, we're on. And we're taking cameras. We're going to let y'all see.
Oh, Cuddy. If Cuddy and Mike go to space, y'all, the pigs are flying, okay?
That's going to be the next
it ain't happening. But look, so unlike Sir Branson, who came down from his 11-minute space travel, who did nothing, Jeff Bezos came down and dropped a Q coin, or a gorgeous coin, a handsome coin, on none only than our homie Van Jones and Chef Andreas of World Central Kitchen. I mean, let's go ahead and run that clip.
So after returning from his quick trip to space, Jeff Bezos had two other big surprises in store for people today. He made charitable donations in the amount of $100 million each to two people, two friends of this program, that are the money's to be used as they see fit. They're CNN political commentator and former special advisor to President Obama, Van Jones, and Chef Jose Andres, founder and driving force behind World Central Kitchen, which has served millions of meals to disaster survivors around the globe. And on this program, we've interviewed him from Houston and San Juan, and I can't even remember how many other places, but both of you have just done extraordinary work. We talked to you earlier in the day. You got the call, was it Saturday?
Yeah, just walking on a path, and the phone rang, and it's Jeff Bezos saying that he felt that we needed to do something to support people who were trying to bring people together across racial lines, political lines, and he wanted to be supportive. And then Lauren, his partner, said that we want to give you $100 million to do it. And I literally lost the ability to speak.
You're sort of burying the lead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? When did you find out, Chef?
Yeah, around the same time. I mean, a few days ago, and the thing was this: it's like, what can we do to try to start investing in how to change the world one plate of food at a time? And he told me, Jose, I want to support you with this money to start finding ways to say that hunger, finally, once and for all, is going to be a problem of the past. We need to be bold, and the moment to be bold is now.
You know,
the moment to be bold is right now. Shout out to World Central Kitchen. We use them. We utilize their services here in the District of Columbia, right here in my community, and served over 40,000 meals, hand-delivered hot meals to our seniors when they were shut in during the coronavirus. So that's an awesome organization. They deserve that $100 million. And Van Jones, my homie, one of the leaders in criminal justice reform. He is also a celebrity known as being like the lawyer who kind of is helping Kim Kardashian navigate her legal license and everything like that. So Van Jones he's dope. I mean, he picked some change agents. I like this.
I'm down with World Kitchen. I think that, I think that organization, 100 million, that's going to be a lot of meals, a lot of food, but I'm laughing at Van Jones. I don't know about that.
Oh, really?
I'm glad you're a Van Jones fan. I'm not a Van Jones fan at all. He probably cried those big crocodile tears that he be liking to cry when he got the little phone call. And we don't know what Van Jones is going to do. He might give half of this money to the police. Van Jones is one of the most lukewarm, warm milk commentators he could have possibly picked. Van Jones, out of all of the black folks that he could have picked, he ran with Van Jones. That's laughable to me.
I 100% disagree. I think that Van Jones is a change agent more than he is a media personality. And in fact, he has founded several social enterprises and nonprofit organizations that he supports. He is very vocal about criminal justice reform. He was like one of the only people who took those meetings at the White House to like make some things shake. So I think giving Van Jones $100 million and the opportunity to disperse the funds as he sees fit. So even if it's not Van Jones who's essentially doing the work, Jeff Bezos is saying, look, there's no constraints on how you decide to how you decide to utilize these funds. You want to give it to an organization that is doing the work that you feel is something that is going to change the world, do that. So I think that we have an ally in Van Jones in doing the right thing.
I hope so. But I do think that, what Bezos is doing is good. I mean, this is 200 million that he's trying to distribute to actually make some change. I mean, there's no shade. This is a great thing that he's doing, and I got to give him credit for trying.
I agree. Well, no shade for our girl, Megan Thee Stallion, who graced the covers of Sports Illustrated, the first rapper on the cover of Sports Illustrated, making history. Meg the Stallion, you are just a history maker, my G. She looked gorgeous, sexy, beautiful. She also shared the cover with Naomi Osaka and the first transgender female, Lena Bloom, for the magazine cover. So this was, or the first transgender model. So man, the 2021 covers are going up for Sports Illustrated. They're showing inclusion. They are really showing inclusion. I watched them. I guess it was like 2 weeks ago during swimsuit fashion week, and their models were all shapes, sizes, and colors and ages. And so they're really diversifying their catalog, and I love it.
Yeah, for real. Huge shout out to Sports Illustrated for this. Even bigger shout out to Meg. I mean, Meg is she's been killing it all year. I just want to point out one thing, Cuddy. Can you bring that slide back? I just want to see that thing one more time, man. Good luck, Cuddy. Is this the only picture that we have? Because there was more. This is all we have.
Cuddy, listen, you guys. Cuddy, when I made the overlays, and so of course, as a woman, I picked the one that I thought I liked the best. So Cuddy's like, but that's not the best one. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry.
Cuddy knows. Cuddy knows, man. And the best one, we're not looking at the smile.
Y'all go ahead and spin your Q coin and buy and purchase Sports Illustrated. Go ahead and support Meg the Stallion and let them know that we need more beautiful Black talented musicians, rappers, transgenders, and all of that in one on the cover of Sports Illustrated. So shout out to inclusion. Love it, love it, love it, love it.
Yes. Hey, real fast, Cuddy, people in the chat is asking about the chef that Bezos gave the $100 million to, Jose.
Jose Andres.
Jose Andres, y'all. Jose Andres. Google him. He does a lot of really good work. I think he's out of Houston.
I think he's out of Houston. He has a great team, and his organization is called World Central Kitchen. You guys definitely tap in with that organization. They have some.
He's around the globe feeding people. Like that $100 million
literally
is going to do a lot.
And the meals are good. Like I ate them during the pandemic. They're good. It's like rice, chicken, vegetables with some sauce. Like it's a full meal. It's warm. Shout out to my council member for being an empath on that. But your girl was one of the leaders in doing that. And we hustled, didn't we, Dr. Jackson? We hustled every single day. Shout out to all the volunteers. We had people using their own personal cars, no gas cards, no stipends, no nothing, to pick up meals and hand deliver them on the doorsteps of our seniors here in the community. So World Central Kitchen, I mean, they fed people 5 days a week. It was real.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So another thing that we want to talk about for doing for the culture is my big homie, the homie Charlamagne the God, is coming out with his own show, y'all. I'm happy about this. Let's go ahead and run this clip.
Can you ever really go home again? Or do you have to build your own home? What happens when things go back to normal?
We don't need things to go back to normal. We need a new normal. We're all looking for something. Some truth, some reality, some honesty.
That's right.
It's time to stop talking. It's time to start doing.
But what? What can one person do?
Well, you can start by executive producing my new show.
Were you sitting there the whole time?
Yep.
The man Vulture called the God of Radio got a new show coming to Comedy Central.
Do you want to drive?
Yeah, but if we get pulled over, please let them know that I identify as white.
Got it.
Okay.
He calling out the so that you don't step in them. The God's Honest Truth with Lenard Charlamagne McKelvey and executive produced by Stephen Colbert. Coming September 17th to Comedy Central.
Y'all, this is going to be exciting. I am looking forward to this. For those of you who do not know Charlamagne the God, a.k.a. Lenard, I never knew his last name was McLevy.
Me
I
neither.
never knew that was his name. But anyway, Charlemagne the God is one of the co-hosts of really super uber popular morning radio show, The Breakfast Club. So if you haven't seen that, shameless plug, go check them out. You can just pull it up on YouTube and watch some of those episodes. I love this. I love to see his growth, man, to see him getting a show on Comedy Central on a Friday night. I think this is going to be hilarious commentary. I think it's going to be a blend of pop culture and politics and nonsense and everything else. So it's good. I mean, and then you have Stephen Colbert. I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, that's a
Yeah, I'm excited too. I think selfishly, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some clips from that show that's going to end up on this show. So
Yeah.
appreciate that. But I mean, man, this is even bigger than Charlemagne, man. This is a win for all of us, all the Black voices out here. People like Charlemagne, you know, like he ain't no the actor, rapper, like he's just a social commentator. He's a writer, he's written books. He's just an educated Black man with a voice. And man, Comedy Central is giving him a platform, and that's a win for the culture. So huge shout out to Charlemagne. Of course, I'm gonna tune in. You know anything about Stephen Colbert's show? The writing on his show was always excellent. So you're gonna have Charlemagne with a team of writers. I'm very excited to see what's gonna come out.
I mean, Stephen Colbert did 11 seasons. So I mean, you're talking about the king of late night TV. So this is gonna be
absolutely. And you know, see, when Charlemagne is on the Breakfast Club, you know, they're just talking. But when he does this show, man, he's gonna have writers and it's gonna be polished. So I'm super excited to see what he's gonna come up with.
I mean, if you listen to his donkey of the day, I mean, his donkey of the day is getting better and better and better. So this is an excellent platform for the homie Charlemagne. But look, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about something a little bit more important. The Texas Senate voted to pass a bill that will remove a requirement for public school teachers to teach that the KKK is morally wrong. It's something worth clapping back at, y'all. Stay tuned. Hey, y'all. This is Julia Jessie of Converge Media.
And I'm Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
And together, we host Clapback Culture every Thursday night at 7 p.m. right here on Converge Media.
And as y'all know, we've done a lot of coverage of the vaccine on our show. And we've both shared our experiences about getting vaxxed.
We are here to let you know that in the state of Washington, everyone over 12 years old is eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine.
Keep in mind that there is no cost for the COVID-19 vaccine. This also means that you don't need to have medical insurance, so don't let that stop you.
You can get more information and resources by visiting kingcounty.gov/COVID.
If you're more comfortable speaking to a live person, you can call 206-477-3977.
The hotline is especially good for those in our community who may need translation services.
Or to set up an in-home vaccination appointment for themselves or someone they know that might not be comfortable at a vaccination site due to a disability, anxiety, or other reasons, or just to be connected to other resources.
Here in King County, the COVID vaccine is accessible and available. The summer is here, and we know you want to be outside. So let's celebrate the summer safely by getting vaxxed.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
All right, y'all. We are back. Glad you are sticking with us. Hello to everybody that just pulled up. Y'all, Texas again is going ham. The Texas Senate has voted to pass a bill that will remove a requirement for public school teachers to teach that the KKK is morally wrong, as well as a bunch of other things. Do we have a clip for this? We have a clip. Let's play.
In other news this Friday, dozens of Texas House Democrats remain in our nation's capital, urging Congress to pass federal voting legislation. A bill banning critical race theory in Texas classrooms passed the Texas Senate here in Austin today. This would apply to Texas public schools, kindergarten through high school. Critical race theory is an academic discipline exploring the idea that the concept of race was created to suppress groups of people, and that in the United States, several systems, from slavery to the modern-day legal system, are inherently racist because they were created to maintain racial superiority. Mineola Republican Senator Brian Hughes says the bill would require a broad framework, but doesn't affect what is taught, creates a civics training program for teachers, and prohibits teachers from being compelled to talk about current events or controversial issues, among other things. Those against the bill argue that the bill would brush aside or whitewash history.
Our classrooms should be places for fostering a diverse and fact-based discussion of various perspectives. They're not for planting seeds for a divisive political agenda.
This legislation, while well-intentioned, unduly would restrict important but challenging conversations that otherwise should occur in classrooms. My opinion is based partly on the testimony of teachers who testified about the unnecessary pressure, intimidation, and uncertainty it would create for them. Trust our teachers, one testified.
That from the Senate floor today. The bill passed on an 18-4 vote in the Texas Senate. It, of course, now heads to the House, but without a quorum in the House of Representatives, no action can be taken. Now,
y'all, come on, Texas. Like, seriously, this is what we're doing. This is our focus. This critical race theory literally has people shaking in their boots. This is where this is deriving from. Mike, I know you got some thoughts.
I don't even know where to begin with this one. I mean, there's so much here. I mean, so first of all, this bill, it eliminates the requirement that students be taught, and I quote, the history of white supremacy, including but not limited to the institution of slavery, the eugenics movement, and the Ku Klux Klan, and the ways in which they are morally wrong. How do you look at the eugenics movement, the KKK, the institution of slavery through any lens that's not morally wrong? Like, I don't even understand how you approach these topics without taking the side that those things are wrong. And I mean,
there's no other way. I mean, you got to call a spade a spade. Emma, like, this is one of those things where this is just racist. There's no other way to call it. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. I mean, this is literally whitewashing history. The idea of saying we're going to pass some legislation that pulls out the requirement to teach these pivotal moments in history is mind-blowing to me. Now, what I hear from the leftists is that they don't want students to start viewing themselves as like white is bad, right? And I get that and I understand that. However, you may not have ever picked up a child's phone, but if your child has Snapchat where there's so much, they're talking racist, substance abuse, homophobia, Islamophobia, they going in. These little kids know what is going on, and they only know what's going on from the surface level, Mike. And if you have young kids, you know that they are just barely touching that surface, and they don't have all the understanding of what historically all of these things mean. So we absolutely need to teach cultural competency in school, right? And a lot of these parents were arguing before it came to the Senate floor. A lot of parents were like, why are you the authority? Why are these teachers the authority to teach on cultural competency? Excuse me? You don't want people, You don't want your child to have curriculum and cultural competency? Like, where are we going with that? I mean, this idea that people are just now so woke and this thing is changing, that's not really the issue. The issue is that we are no longer sitting behind the scenes and not being a part of, or and not having a seat at the table to say this is what we want to be in curriculum. How dare you think you're going to take the "I have a dream" speech out of curriculum, out of a requirement, because you deem it as controversial?
Well, that's exactly where I was going to take it. Like, it's not, yes, it's bad that they're taking those super white, super racist, those three specific things that were really, really horrible, and not being able to say that those are morally wrong. But on top of that, they're going to remove MLK's "I Have a Dream" speech and his letter from Birmingham jail. Those are no longer curriculum requirements. None of the works of Cesar Chavez are curriculum requirements. Everything that Susan B. Anthony wrote on women's suffrage, no longer a curriculum requirement. And nothing from Native American history is no longer a requirement. So it's like, it's not even the fact that you're trying to glance over white supremacy and say white supremacy wasn't as bad as we all thought it was, but now you're trying to remove all of the teachings from people of color, from women, and from anyone that didn't have that same mindset. And it's clear what they're doing, and it just makes all of those arguments void. Because if you're saying that, you know, you don't want to influence the children, then why are you removing all of the text that will allow children to have a full view of history? By taking all of those writings that I mentioned, and those aren't even all of them that I listed off right there, by taking those out, now you're really, really skewing the history that kids are being taught. And if we're being honest, how can you teach U.S. history without racism? U.S. history is a racist history from the conception, from us landing here and killing everybody who was already here to bringing over the slave. Like, there's no separation between U.S. history and racism. The two are intertwined. And the idea that you can teach students without putting those two together, you're just turning your back on education.
I think you make a good point, and Leon says it in the comments. How is that a curriculum of U.S. history? What we're doing is we're changing U.S. history. Omission of the truth is a lie. I stand on that. I always say that. And so you can't omit the facts and then call it truth. That's just not fair. And I believe that children are more capable, smarter, more inclusive, more empathetic when they understand everything that's on the table. And I think if you can get these kids who may not understand the definition of minority, who may not understand the definition of racism, who may not, kind of know and understand these buzzwords, but know that historical context, and then they can place it. And when they get older, they can start applying that in different ways and saying, okay, this is what we saw in history. Let me change this for the better. And so rather than saying we're going to just erase it, omit it because we don't want to challenge, have these tough conversations, have these uncomfortable conversations, where it makes me feel like you're not giving enough respect to the kids who can actually digest this and move through it. They're not the same as us. Okay. They are way more prepared than we ever were at this age. So
they have way more access to information than ever before. So like the idea that you cannot put this in school and think that it's just not going to exist is ridiculous. And I think Emily Stock, that's not a bad idea. I just don't think that it will ever happen. Like the US, the idea of a universal education, I don't think that it's an accident that this is at state level. I think this goes all the way back, honestly, until the Civil War. I mean, when you look at the Civil War, you got the North and the South, they fought. Well, the South wasn't punished after they left. Like everybody with plantations, they kept their plantations. Hell, in Texas, they kept their slaves. That's why we have Juneteenth, because those freed slaves were never actually free. But They still kept all of their institutions, all of the people that were in political power stayed in power. So like you still have all of this trickle down of racism that's just embedded in so many systems. So a state like Texas, of course, is going to do something like this. So it's not a surprise. It's just we've never, as a country, ever made a conscious effort to break from our racist roots. Instead, we embraced them. And here we are right now with this ridiculous curriculum. And if this passes in Texas, I wouldn't be surprised if it passed in other states as well.
You know what sucks about this bill is that should it pass, right? Because there is no quorum right now in Texas because lawmakers are
in DC.
They're running away from this to be voted in strategically. But should this be passed, right? It's not saying that you cannot teach this. It's saying that it will not be a requirement. Right. Now, let's talk about why that is important, because should it not be a requirement, Mike, that means it's not going to be on the test, which means you ultimately you're not going to be trained to learn it. And I think that inherently is an issue, right? So we are definitely going to still see teachers building this into the curriculum and still continuing to talk about this because they have the belief that it's important. But can you imagine some of the parents coming in and saying, this is not a requirement, you can't teach this. And then there's this whole intimidation factor where teachers don't have the authority to teach kids the accuracy of our history. So this is not good. This is terrible. Honestly.
No, you're absolutely right. And there's a piece in the bill that prohibits teachers from being compelled to talk about current events or controversial issues. And if teachers should choose to engage in those topics anyway, the teachers are not allowed to show deference to any one perspective, which to that I would say, how do you talk about slavery if you can't show deference to a perspective? You're supposed to teach about slavery from the stance of this is just what it is. Make your own decision.
This is what it is. This is what it was.
Right.
And, and you're allowing.
This is just who they are. Like it just doesn't.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I think it doesn't. I think about you guys. I went to Franklin High School. I was in the core study was humanities, if you guys are familiar with that. And we had kind of an alternative way that our classroom setting was. And it was very roundtable. And we had a lot of conversations, and our teachers would allow us to have really open dialogues where we got to be opinionated and we got to talk about things. I can't imagine taking current events out of classrooms. It is literally the moment where a student is going to learn the most because it's happening right now in the immediate. When 9/11 happened, we talked about it. We turned it on the television and we watched it. So is that controversial? Because that's a part of US history. And it could be deemed controversial because there never were any weapons of mass destruction. And that brought up so much Islamophobia thereafter. So it was so many things that transpired in that small moment of time. But can you imagine that teachers were like, oh, hold on, we can't show this?
You're absolutely right. When you look at the world that we're in right now, like how can you be a teacher in a classroom and you're not talking about George Floyd? You're not talking about that movement. How can you be a teacher in a world history class right now? You're telling me you're not going to talk about Cuba. You're not going to talk about Palestine. How can you be a teacher right now? You're not talking about gender studies. You're not talking about the fight for transgender rights that's happening right now. You're not going to talk about any of these anti-policing bills that are happening right now. There's so much stuff that's happening right now in our faces in real time. You're not talking about the pandemic. You're not talking about the virus. You're not talking about mask mandates. There's so much stuff that's happening right now. And I'm telling you, I recently was in 3 cities in Texas. I was just in New Orleans. I've been in Portland, and I'm telling you, homelessness is a major issue in every major city that we have right now. So you're telling me we can't talk about homelessness in classrooms because it might be a controversial issue? It's like, what are we doing to the kids? Like, what are we actually teaching them? I think it's more important for kids to learn to think critically than anything else. And if we're not talking about the world as it is right now, how are our kids learning to think critically?
they're not going to learn to think critically. They're going to be it's censorship, right? It's complete censorship. And I also believe that, who gets to say what's controversial and what's not? Since when have we allowed parents to dictate what is being taught in schools? I mean, that's not, parents should definitely have rights and participate in the education of their children. Let me lay that groundwork first. But I'm saying the second piece of that is we cannot allow outsiders to come in after the curriculum has been implemented or has been implemented. There's a syllabus being sent out. These are the conversations we're going to have. This is what we're going to talk about in this class discussion today. And then we have it's deemed controversial because a few parents feel some type of way about it. And now everybody else in the class doesn't get to talk about it. I think it's unfair. And I think it's un-American. Honestly, it's completely un-American. And we are moving into a new forefront where there is social media. You can Google anything you want to know about and find out about it. So why is it that we're not having real, honest conversations with our kids? Education should be inclusive, it should be informative, and it should be accurate. And if we don't have that, then we don't have nothing.
These Republicans is trying to cancel education.
Damn.
They're crazy. Hey, y'all. And Mama Walden just put something up here too, man. We definitely need some Saturday schools back. And I would encourage y'all to just teach your kids, man. My kids know I'll break out into a history lesson anytime, anywhere. I will stop dinner. I will stop a movie. We could be I don't care where we are or what we're doing. I hear anything that triggers a needed lesson in Black history, or we're stopping activities and we're going to jump in it. So, I mean, a lot of this is now going to have to fall on us because it's clear that these institutions, they're in the battle of their lives right now.
Harry Jefferson said, if you don't talk about our past, then the new generation doesn't learn our past, which helps our oppressors repeat history. Shaking my head. Couldn't have said it best. I think it's also important, and Mama Walden, you probably can speak on this too. It's so critically important for us to have deep, intimate conversations and teach our kids. The idea, the history of storytelling in our culture is being lost. We used to sit around the table at the feet of our elders and listen and have these conversations. I was sitting around my 93-year-old grandmother, my yai, rest in peace. I lost her last year during the pandemic, but I was sitting around my yai and I would ask her so many questions, just anything I could think of to kind of stimulate and generate conversation. And that's such a pastime. And a lot of kids now are not engaged. They're not involved. And parents and grandparents are not allowing these kids to sit at their feet and teach them. And so while we don't need them to be in grown folks' business, we still do need to open up the floor for family discussion. And when we're at that dinner table, we need to have parents and the kids at that dinner table. Like, I know it's a lot to sit down and kind of stop your day, but we have to do it so that we can understand what our kids are going through, so they can understand what we're going through and have those and stimulate some conversation so that we can have the ability to teach. Teaching is going to be more than just what's inside the classroom. It needs to come from at home too.
Well said.
Oh man, y'all. Let's take a look at a few more of these comments, but I think we beat this one to the end, Mike Davis.
It'll be back too. That's the thing, man. This critical race theory stuff, it's not over. And I think, man, O's trying to put something together for me to talk to one of the professors at UW that actually teaches critical race theory. So that should be dope too.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still salty about my internet connectivity going out during the critical race theory. So I'm excited for that to come back. Oh, Mama Walton, your last thought: history, Black. I guess Black history needs to be taught in home and in churches. Stop Bible study. I think listen. Come on, we need to be talking about it. We have to be talking about it because it'll be lost. It will absolutely be lost. So let's not let this moment pass us, you guys. Let's allow this conversation to live on. We're going to bring it back up As Mike stated before, this idea of critical race theory being weaponized is being highly politicized. And I think we're going to see it in the 2024 elections. And so they're starting early. They are starting early. So we'll see what we have. But again, we appreciate you guys pulling up to Clapback Culture here on this beautiful Thursday night. Mike Davis, where can I find you when you're not here?
You can find me at the South Seattle Emerald. Anywhere you find the Emerald, you're going to find me. You can also find me on Twitter at Real M Davis.
That's right. Okay. And I am Jules Jessie of Converge Media. Please, you guys, go follow me on Facebook and Twitter at Treasure of JULES. Oh, and Instagram too. You guys already know. All right. Treasure of JULES. You know what it is. Well, look, you guys, this is the episode, man. We ended it on a serious note, as always. Mike, it's a pleasure to co-host alongside you. I love these conversations. And that's Clapback for Thursday. Peace.